Now, there's an interesting thing that your website does, and I know why it does it, which leads us to another discussion. But if we try to, again, log on with sort of a random username, and then I put in a password like this, and I log in.
Whoa.
Now, this is interesting for several reasons, actually.
What just happened there?
So, very good question. Let's go back, and let's turn on the developer tools.
All right.
And we will log in, and we'll have a look at the network requests here. And we've actually got to put a password in. Let's try that again. And we'll see what happens. So, we post, and we get a 302 response, okay, which is going to be a redirect. And it's actually redirecting to the error page. All right, so if we scroll that guy over a little bit, we can see redirect, and then it passes the path you're trying to authenticate to, or rather the path the error occurred on, pass it to the error page. So that the first thing is that there's actually an error.
Right.
When I try and submit that password. And I'll tell you what password it is and why it happened in a moment.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have thought there would be an error. Now,
your site then does some really funky stuff where it goes to the error page, and then the error page causes a 302 redirect off to /error, or rather /companies/error, and then that does a permanent redirect, 301, off to the search page. So you've actually got something probably totally non-security related there, which is just a broken error page.
Looks like a logic error or something,
Yeah, so this will come up again because we'll see this happen a couple of times. But let's talk about what caused this. And if we click on this link, and we look at the headers, and we look at the request headers, and we look at our form data, and we look at our password. So see our password?
Oh, right.
So I submitted a script tag.
Right.
So I tried to log in with a password which was script. Now maybe if that actually had had a capital T and like a 1 instead of an I, it would have met minimum criteria.
May have been all right.
But basically your website did throw an error. And
I'm guessing it has something to do with the script tag.
Yeah, it probably has something to do with the script tag. Now what it's actually doing is ASP.NET has this built-in request validation. So effectively all untrusted user data that comes into the system, so things like form data, query strings, even things in headers, get passed through this request validation engine. And it sort of indiscriminately says anything that matches a certain set of patterns, including things that look like they could be XSS, we're just going to ditch them. Like they're just not allowed in. So that's what's happened here, and it has raised a request validation exception. And that has then gone off to the error page, and then other weirdness has happened, which is unique to your system, but you'll sort that out later.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting discussion in terms of passwords. So should you allow angle brackets in your password?
I would have thought so.
Right, so, and I agree.
Yeah.
And some people say, no, you really shouldn't because there's an XSS risk. You're only going to have an XSS risk if you actually display it against something.
If you actually execute it or evaluate it.
So number one, you should never be able to redisplay it somewhere because if it is a strong hash, or even if it's a weak hash, if it is a hash, you can't unhash it. And we know that you're running on an identity provider with those hashes that we discussed earlier, so you shouldn't actually be able to unhash that. So you never actually be able to display it somewhere anyway. The other thing is that angle brackets and things are a good entropy in terms of passwords. So what is happening here again is request validation. You're running in MVC, so you can take that password attribute of, say, your logon entity or whatever the effectively the model is, and you can put an allow HTML attribute on it. And when you put an allow HTML attribute on it, it won't fire request validation on it. So that would allow you to fix this. And this is a one-line fix.
Yeah, it sounds really simple.
And I don't think this is a major issue, but where I do see it pop up a little bit, and I see it often pop up when I create accounts, is that if you're using a password manager and you say auto-generate.
Exactly, I was just about to ask that because I've seen angle brackets or even squiggly brackets or any of the semicolons even.
Exactly, so I use one password for everything, and if I go to register somewhere and I just go down to
you don't mean you use the same password for everything? No, right.
Thank you for clarifying. I use the tool called 1Password. So I can jump down to here and it's all locked with my master password. But I can generate a password which then gets injected into there, and then when I log on it saves it into my keychain. And I've got it set up to be as random as possible, and as random as possible means there is a chance that there could be angle brackets.
Yeah.
So we don't want that happening.
No.